The full update list has been announced for the latest update, which has already been added to the game today on World of Tanks console. So we're going to cover what's actually in this update that we haven't already covered with the brand new season, which is the heavy metal season for console, and of course go through some of the patch notes, which have seen some pretty sizable updates to a variety of different things, including the Marks of Excellence, the Commander Skill Respec, and the World War II tank balance update, which sees quite a few vehicles having some changes added to them. So without further ado, let's take a look at what's coming. So obviously the new season Heavy Metal did come out today, so you're actually able to jump on and play already of course the brand new vehicles, which include the T114 Battalion Anti-Tank Destroyer, as well as the Leclerc T4 Terminator, which is a heavy tank. Now both of these are World War II and Cold War respectively, and so you do have two new vehicles added in with this latest season. The World War II tier 10 is actually available for the Ultimate Season Pass, so you have to pay for the Ultimate Season Pass to actually get yourself the World War II version, but the T4 or the Terminator, the Cold War vehicle, Era 3 Detente, which you can have a full look at and the breakdown in the previous video that we did do on this new season and the actual season related items, but that is the Detente Era 3 vehicle. It comes with some commanders and that sort of stuff as well, and a load of gold that you can get from the season pass itself. I believe 2,100 you get back, plus some commanders war chests and the variety of different war chests, which basically add to the amount of gold you make from the season. So you end up actually spending 2,000 gold, but usually making anywhere from 1,000 to potentially getting yourself a duplicate premium if you already own one out of the war chest that you get. I believe you can get up to 4 war chests in total from the season, and of course the top secret, or what is the equivalent, which I believe is the Heroes war chest, gives you at least 800 gold back from that one chest. So you just need the normal season pass, which is 2,000 gold, which I'd highly recommend if you play enough of the game where you think that you can get to at least rank 75 within the game. That is going to guarantee you to make money or make gold out of the gold that you do spend on the game. And I think it's probably the best investment into the game that you could possibly make if you are interested in just simply playing the game, not buying premium tanks, that sort of stuff, outright for real money. Spending a little bit of money to actually get the gold is definitely the way to go, and you get premium tanks from the season pass, which is just a way better way of doing it. And all you have to think of is you're spending 2,000 gold or the equivalent in real money to then get more gold back than you put into the season pass, plus you get premium tanks and all of the extra benefits of the actual season pass itself. So yes, I think it is entirely worth it if you play the game enough. This season is a very long one, it's 2 months long, but of course we covered all of that in the previous video, so I'm not going to labor on about that. We want to find out what else has changed with this update, and there are quite a few. So we touched on the Marks of Excellence, and I guess we could have a look at the Marks of Excellence themselves. So what happened was Marks of Excellence were first added into the game 9 years ago in July 2015. In 2021 we made a change to the map performance factor that was used to make it an accurate factor based on the maximum tank performance difference on maps. So this change, whilst it made the formula for Marks of Excellence more accurate, was not received positive. So what they did is they changed how the map performance, so say you played a light tank on Himmelsdorf, there would have previously been back in the day, which is what it is now. So they made a change and then they've reverted that change back to the original. So the map performance factor is essentially if you play a tank that is not very well suited to a map like Himmelsdorf, so you play an artillery, you play a light tank and you end up on Himmelsdorf, the amount of damage required in order for you to get a Mark of Excellence is reduced on that map depending on how other people perform. So each of the maps, depending on the type of tank that you're using, will have that added to them. So that is kind of how it works and how it kind of goes through and that sort of thing within the game. So that's kind of what you can expect when it comes to Marks of Excellence, that sort of stuff. It kind of is essentially going back to the previous, where now you do have an impact The update before this, obviously, to the Marks of Excellence, they then removed that factor, or at least changed how it actually impacted it, which meant that no matter what map you play, it was just as difficult, and so you didn't get kind of that compensation for playing a terrible map for the tank that you're playing in particular. So I think this is a good change for the game, and takes out the luck involved in consecutively getting good maps for your tank, and just hopefully makes the Marks of Excellence feel a little bit more like a pleasurable experience when you are trying to get that top tier marks where you're pushing your limits, and that you're not getting shafted by the map that you're getting. Maybe you get 3-4 terrible maps for the tank that you're playing in a row. Now it's not so bad because it's obviously based on the map that you're getting, which I think is a good factor. The newest marks, however, so 4 Marks of Excellence, that remains the exact same. So they are not going to be changing it. That is like going to essentially remain the exact same. So there's no changes to the 4th mark. It's just 3 and below will have the map performance factor. 4th mark doesn't get the map performance factor like previously. So that is staying the exact same, making the 4th mark the toughest challenge you could probably do for any tank in the game, that is within the actual game itself, and not one that you've obviously made up for yourself, other than maybe taking out 15 opponents in one singular game, but I digress. Anyway, so that is changed. Marks of Excellence should be easier now for a lot of people and less RNG dependent on the map rotation. Then we've got Commando skill respec. So this has been a bone of contention for pretty much anyone that plays the game, and in order for you to customize your commander, you were having to spend the full amount of gold to respec all of your skills. So if you had a 9 skill commander, you'd have to spend 90 gold just to respec one skill. Now you can actually just respec one of those skills and spend 10 gold, rather than, you know, having to respec all of them to just change one perk, which is a good thing. It's a quality of life improvement that I think is going to be good, and of course means that you can experiment with your crew without having to spend ludicrous amounts of gold in order just to retrain your crew. Me personally, I don't really get why they even charge for this, because it's such a low amount of gold that it just is annoying. I feel like it's more of an annoyance to the player who's playing the game than it is like actually costing them a ton of money. It's just annoying, and so I would have just charged silver for this flat out. It doesn't make sense to me that they're charging actual money to respec and rechange your crew skills for the game. Even if they maybe had an option where you could spend gold and then obviously spend the equivalent in silver, I think that would be a better option, but obviously that's down to Wargaming to actually do. But yeah, although this is a good change, it is maybe lacking behind on some of the changes that we've seen in the past with reassigning your crew and your commander to a different style of vehicle that, you know, now we can do for silver. They should probably do the same thing for crew skills. Anyway, moving on, we then got the World War II tank balance update, which features a ton of vehicles. Now, I'm not going to cover like the tier 2 to tier like 5 unless we find something specifically interesting, but they've made some changes to the Polish vehicles. Well, quite a few vehicles. They've got Poland, Japan, Germany, Sweden and France. The Polish vehicles that are noteworthy above tier 5 is of course the tier 7. We've got the 45 TP getting better terrain resistances and whole traverse speed with better accuracy on the move and better essentially accuracy as well on the top 2 turrets, and then of course updated physics, which is good. Hopefully those physics are better, because obviously we don't actually know. The 53 TP got the same sort of story. It's got better terrain resistances. I'm not going to cover every time it gets better terrain resistances. I'm just going to state that rather than go through every single tank, but it has the same sort of upgrades. This one, however, does get better view range on the base turret and the upgraded turret to 370 to 380 on the top one and 360 to 370 on the stock one. Then we've got the tier 9, similar sort of story, except it doesn't get those terrain resistance buffs. It just gets buffs to its view range and its reload time coming down nicely to bring it more in line with some of the other tier 9 vehicles. So the 122 now has about a 8% buff to its reload, so should be somewhat more playable. Then we've got the tier 10, which is the CS63, which is getting better. Well, actually, it's going worse. So they're nerfing the CS63, which is interesting. They're reducing the dispersion when moving and rotating. And then the same story for the rapid mode. CS63, for those of you wondering, does have two different modes. It's got a turbo mode, it's got a normal mode. They are changing both of them so that it is just worse in terms of its accuracy. They are nerfing the aim time, so that's going up to 2.5 seconds. And the reload time is also going up by 0.5 of a second, so they're nerfing the reload. They're also nerfing the accuracy during rotation. And then they've got the same story, but for the rapid mode, making the aim time even worse. I don't really think the CS63 was too overpowered or anything like that. I find it a bit of a weird change to be nerfing it. But yeah, I guess fair enough. Not a massive difference to the actual normal mode, but I guess they're trying to promote the fact that people should be using the non-rapid mode, and maybe due to the fact that there's also auto-aim being so overpowered right now, the CS63's rapid mode was able to be used as just a normal mode anyway, so maybe that is kind of what they're kind of trying to do here. And then they've buffed some tier 2 premium, but I'm not going to cover that. Then we've got Japan. They are making some buffs to essentially a wide variety of the Japanese tanks. The tier 5 is where we'll start. The Chinyu getting some better repair costs, so it's just going to be cheaper to repair. Health has gone up. We've had turret traverse up and accuracy coming down, so it's better accuracy. And that is the same for both of the kind of stock turrets. And then we've got the Chi-Ri. It's getting better turret traverse, it's getting better aim time, and it's also getting better reload time on the Top Gun as well. Then we've got the STA-1, which is getting better traverse, better dispersion, so it's more accurate, better reload speed as well. I felt like the STA-1 was actually in a good place. I don't think it needed too many buffs, but maybe it's worth it. They've also changed the penetration from 219 to 232 to bring it in line, I guess, with some of the other mediums and make it a bit more useful and maybe even more competitive. And I think that is a good change. I like it when they try and mix up the meta and involve some tanks that weren't commonly used all too much and make them better. I think that is a good thing to do, and switching it up, nerfing some of the more overpowered tanks, making some of the less used tanks better, you know, swapping it up to make it a little bit more interesting is something that they can do. Then we've got tier 9, we've got the Type 61, which is getting a ammo speed buff alongside penetration, so same sort of story as the previous, I believe. And then yeah, same story for the second turret as well. And then the tier 10, they're buffing the Type 5 so that its reload speed on its 140mm comes down and its accuracy also is improved. And then they're nerfing the 150mm, so the reload goes up and the aim time goes up, as well as the accuracy being worse, so it's worse accuracy, and the dispersion when rotating is also worse, so it's basically making a better choice of using the 140mm over the 150mm, so that you have actually got a reason to use that 140mm over the bigger one. So not a bad thing there, but I'm sure some Type 5 enjoyers are going to be very annoyed about that. Premium wise, they're buffing the Sensi STA-2 such that it's similar to what the STA-1 has, with the same gun buff. They're also reducing the reload, that sort of thing, so they're kind of keeping the STA-1 and the STA-2 in line with each other, so they're not kind of buffing the tech tree version too much. But they have improved the view range of the STA-2 to 400 meters, which is pretty crazy considering that I felt like the STA-2 was actually a pretty decent vehicle anyway, and I believe we could have picked this one up for free recently, so that's nice for everyone that did actually manage to complete the operation to be able to get it. And they've done the same thing with the non-premium skin version, the Senshi, but just the base STA-2, same sort of story. And then the STA-2 Black Edition has the exact same buffs and changes as well. Then we move on to Germany. Germany has got a couple of changes. If we go down to the actual tiers and not these low tiers, tier 5, the Leopard has got an increased reload speed, so that should make it a little bit easier for people down at tier 5. The Leopard is the light tank with the autoloader, which was just horrendous. So they've reduced the reload time or increase the reload time, but and increase the clip size, which is, I don't really know why they've done that. Going to make the Leopard a bit more clippy, I guess. It might be worth having a look at. And I'll do that maybe later on down the line. The Hammer has got changes again, so they've reduced the reload or increased the reload time, which means that the DPM is going down, but they have increased the damage as well to 280, and then the Adler has got some changes as well, so that's reload time has gone up, but it's got the 280 instead of the 240, similar to what they did with the recent German changes to a lot of those guns. Sweden, that has got some changes to essentially the low tiers, quite a few of them. But tier 6, they've made some changes to the tank destroyers, which I felt were really, really strong and actually very underrated. But they made the IKV-65 have nearly 400 meters view range. It's gone from 330 to 390 on the first turret. Yeah. The IKV doesn't get a turret, by the way. It's a non-turreted tank destroyer. But yeah, they've also increased the DPM, increased the accuracy, increased the aim time, as in made it better. So yeah, this tank could actually be a really interesting tier 6 to try out again, because I love that vehicle. They've done the same sort of changes to the IKV-90 Type B, so this is a tier 7 Swedish TD. Really enjoyed this tank as well. One of my favorites out of the Swedish TD line, if not my favorite. Better terrain resistances, so it's just better on all of the terrain types. Better hull traverse. The terrain resistances have also gone down on the second chassis as well, so they're better. And then you've got better turret traverse speed as well as better view range, and the aim times come down. The tier 8 UDES getting better hull traverse in both the siege modes, and siege mode has just got a general buff to pretty much everything alongside the view range. Strange that they buffed all of the view ranges of these Swedish TDs, as I felt like they were very good anyway. But yeah, okay. Accuracy's also got slightly better, but not really measurably, to be honest. Premium wise, they've buffed all of the kind of tier 8 TDs to make them more in line with, of course, the tech tree counterparts, so like the premium STRV S1 and the Stark STRV S1, which is the Swedish skin one that has a giant Swedish flag covered all over the tank, which kind of looks cool, is also getting some buffs. The Earthshaker, so this is the tier 8, I believe it's classified as a medium, but it gets the Hesh rounds. It's kind of like a Centurion, but a Swedish version, which gets Hesh rounds, 480 damage. I think it's a medium. It may be a heavy. I don't quite know the classification as to what they've called it, but to all intents and purposes, it's a Centurion. I am almost certain it is a medium, but I don't want to confirm that to you guys. But hull traverse has gone up, so it's better at turning. Shot dispersion also gone down, so it's better at firing when it's moving. Turret traverse speed also gone up, and the 105mm has also got a DPM buff, which is kind of crazy. Its reload's going down by just about 8%, like about 8%, something like that even. Aim time's also going down, shot dispersion going down. Yeah, pretty crazy. The Primo Victoria also getting a similar story with the hull traverse, shot dispersion. All of these are buffs, by the way. Aim time going down, so it's faster, and the reload time is also getting a considerable buff, over 10% buff to its DPM on the Primo Victoria, which is kind of cool. That tank was probably not used all too much. Primo Victoria also, for those of you wondering, was of course, I don't want to say entirely, I cannot remember the name of the band, so just to save myself the absolute shambles that it is, I sat here and tried to work it out, and it was in fact Sabaton, which is just me being an animal, not actually realizing what it actually was. But yes, they have a song called Primo Victoria. So yeah, there's that, which is kind of cool, and maybe they'll even come back. Of course, it's heavy metal season. Maybe they're buffing this to put it back on sale. I have no idea. Nothing confirmed. Seemingly, maybe that will happen. Maybe it's already on sale. I don't actually know. STRV 81. This is also a Centurion variant, I believe. Yep, so yeah, similar sort of story, exactly same changes. I believe it may even just be the unskinned version of the Primo Victoria. So that is basically that. And then the French tanks, basically nothing, just tier 1 and a tier 2. I don't know why they're changing the tier 1 and tier 2 since they're not actually in the game anymore properly. There we go. Anyway, now we actually have something pretty big. ATGM minimum arming distance and acceleration improvements. Now, to clarify, don't be too scared. Improvements, okay? Improvements doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't some good changes in here. So, minimum arming distance, which is good. So, minimum arming distance is the distance the ATGM needs to travel until it is armed. So, no longer can a weasel come up about 2 meters from the backside of your vehicle and fire off a round. It has to be at least 65 meters, I believe. So, yeah, minimum arming distance. So, you have minimum arming distance 00100. I'm hoping that they do actually have a minimum arming distance for all of them. Don't know, but ATGMs was set to one of two values, so either 65 or 100. The minimum arming distance and the percentage of damage and penetration when not armed can be viewed on the tank's detailed statistics page. So it seems like they're doing damage if they aren't armed. With a minimum arming distance, when you are too close to your target, the HUD will have an X over your vehicle reticle with a note that you are too close. You can still fire the ATGM, but as the missile is not armed, its damage potential is reduced to only 25%. Okay, that's... I mean, I would have just removed the ability to do damage. But 25%, it's a lot better than, you know, getting hit for 1400. So yeah, I think that's a good change. And its penetration is only 75%. The minimum arming distance and the percentage of damage and penetration when not armed are available on the tank's detailed stats page. So you can, you know, when you go in, you press Y on Xbox, and I believe it's triangle on PlayStation. I apologize if it's not, but it's the top button on your kind of number pad or shape pad, whatever you want to call it. I believe it's triangle. So yeah, you should be able to see that in the detailed statistics page of all of the ATGM launchers in the game. New HUD elements will communicate when you are too close. So that says it's too close. Horrible looking X. That is a horrible looking X. But it's better than nothing. We're not going to complain about the fact that they have made some changes to missile launchers. I think that is a good change. Acceleration. So this is the bit. In addition to encouraging a farther engagement distance with the minimum arming distance, players also provided feedback that ATGMs feel slow. The slow speed is likely a contributing factor for players using a tactic more like shotgunning with these weapon types. To address this, the acceleration values for ATGMs have been increased so that they'll quickly reach their max speed. So if you didn't already know, ATGMs essentially would have to speed up to their top speed before they actually can hit the target. So if you were too close, it would just be slow and it wouldn't reach its top speed. Whereas now you can fire it off and it will reach the top speed. So the new acceleration will greatly decrease the time it takes to hit a target, giving them better usability at range. The acceleration rate for impacted ATGMs is currently 20 to 40 meters per second and is increasing to 80 to 145 meters per second, depending on the ATGM. So essentially what I would assume is say you've got 100 meters, right? Your target's 100 meters away. You will see that your shell speed will travel faster towards that 100 meters, so it will take less time to actually reach there. But acceleration rate is currently 20 to 40 meters per second. And is increasing to 80 to 145. So whether that is the top speed of the missile, I'm not entirely sure. Doesn't acceleration rate. So is it increasing by 20 to 40 meters per second? So say after the first second it's traveling 20 meters a second, second one 40 meters a second, third second, 60 meters a second, etc., up to the top speed of the missile. I think that's what it's trying to say. So yeah, now we'll see like 4 times faster missiles, basically, on the low end. If you had like the minimum before, it's now 4 times faster to get up to top speed. Obviously, that only makes a difference once you are if you're in the range of that target. And yeah, it will also change the time at which your missile hits the opponent. But if you're outside of the maximum if it would have taken you to top speed to hit the target in the first place, you're just going to hit the target faster. It's not going to have an impact on the top speed of your missile at the end when you do actually hit the person. So yeah, I think that's a good change. Hopefully we'll see ATGMs actually used in more of a long range engagement rather than just YOLO wagoning in with the ATGM launchers. I think that could be a good change. But of course we have to see what it's actually like in the game before we make any complete statements as to whether it is actually good. Then we've got anti-duplicate system for chest bought with gold. So this is essentially, say you had the Malo. You then went in and bought a war chest, and then you get the Malo again. Okay, I already have a Malo though. I wanted the other vehicles that were a guarantee. How come I got the Malo again? Well, now you essentially won't receive the vehicle in the epic rewards within the guarantee epic rewards drop table until you've received all of the tanks. So say you had the Malo but you didn't have, I don't know, the Weasel. Right, now you get the Weasel instead of the Malo. You can't get the Malo again until you've got the next tank. I think that's basically it. Returning map, we have Province returning as well. A pretty terrible, boring map. Wait. Oh god. Please tell me they didn't introduce it. They did. They introduced it to tier 10. Tier 10 Province. Please tell me it's bigger. Because there's no way you introduce this at tier 10. Because this is... No, it's not bigger. What in the... Well... Good luck playing Province at tier 10, where you can spot the other side of the map from the very beginning. And they've put it on post-war. Province, by the way, was originally goes up to max tier 5. I believe. Something like that. It was very low tiers. You did not go higher than that because previously it was just horrendous because obviously you could spot everything. I think it might have gone up to tier 6. I remember being in the tier 6 in this map. So like the Hellcat or something like that. But yeah, bringing it back, putting it at tier 11. Oh dear. Or not tier 11, but tier 10. I think there's a typo here, but you get what I mean. I think this is not a good change in terms of the tiers that you're playing. Definitely better to have it in the game, but don't put it at tier 10 because that's just going to cause annoyance, I think, for anyone trying to play tier 10. So yeah, that's back in the game. I would definitely see... I can see them changing the tiers and what eras and stuff that this is available for. At the minute, era-wise, it's just post-war. It could be removed entirely from Cold War. New audio adjustment options, so you can change the audio within the game a little bit better. Me personally, I'm just going to turn the music off. It's so annoying and glaringly just annoying. There's also some new garage gear as well. Check out the garage customization store. I believe they have some issues with this. So if we have a look at the Discord, we do have some known issues in today's update. Some garage gear items have not gone live, specifically the new rockets. So those haven't been actually changed. Or they haven't been added into the game, which I believe is these. So they're not actually in the game yet. The BT7 second gun is still using the old burst fire as well. So BT7 hasn't had the upgrades. So yeah, in terms of the update notes, that's what is available, but there is a couple of other things. The war chests have been reset. We have a load more kind of war chest stuff added into the game. They've had the refresh. There's more tanks, different tanks in them. I'm not going to cover them, to be honest with you, because they're just super expensive, but they have been refreshed and will be available for the whole season, including the Super Pershing, the King Dragon Type 59, and the M60 Action X. So those are in the war chest. You can have a look at the specific drops list of everything in each of them if you go to the Wargaming website, or I believe you can do it on the console. There should be a button when you hover over the war chest in the store tab to see the drop list. I think it will take you to Microsoft Edge if you're on Xbox, and I don't know what the PlayStation alternative is. Sorry, I don't have a PlayStation, but it will take you to the website with all of the drops list. Special sales, commander skill respec discount, so there's 50% off your commander skill respecs, so now you'll pay 5 gold at the minute. This is available for just over 2 weeks, well, 2 weeks in fact. July tank of the month is the STRV S1. This is probably the cheapest tanks that you can pick up in terms of like if you're paying real money for a vehicle in the game. $9.99. I really don't like the STRV, but you know, that's down to you. Of course it changes on the 6th of August. I've already covered this, but I thought I'd add it back in there. And then we have, of course, the heavy metal season. So you've got all of the different vehicles. Ultimate season pass is the Leclerc T4. Top vehicle is the World War II. So I was wrong earlier. The Ultimate Season Pass has the Detente Era 3. The normal Season Pass has the T114. So you will never see a tier 10 vehicle sold for giving it to you for free, essentially. So yeah, I'd highly recommend getting the Season Pass if you do play the game. Either way, that is pretty much it for this week on World of Tanks console. A lot to cover, a lot to unpack, and of course you can go back and watch anything if you need any clarification. But that is everything, I believe. Let me know if you've got any more questions, and also your thoughts on this whole update. Will you be getting the Ultimate Season Pass? Will you be getting the normal Season Pass? Are you interested in this season, and what would you like to see from the actual heavy metal themed season? And what will be coming with that? What kind of bands would you like to see themed content around if they ever actually had that back after the Metal Fest or whatever it was called previously? So yeah, I'm interested to see your thoughts on that, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.